I'm travelling business class. I look down on him back there in economy because business class is a far better way to travel. I'm travelling in economy class. You're probably expecting me to say that I look up to him travelling in business, but I don't. I am saving a packet and I am essentially getting the same service for a fraction of the price. But which of us is right? To find out, stick around. Hi, I'm Matt. Over the last 25 years, I've travelled a lot. I've lived in 5 countries on 4 continents. I've flown over 1.3 million miles. I've visited over 100 countries, every American state, but I'm nowhere near done. So subscribe to the channel so you can come with me. So hello and welcome to the video. I recently flew with British Airways to Malaga in business class, and you can find my review of that flight over there. It was a flight review with a twist. I flew back in economy. Now the return legs of these kinds of flights usually don't do too well on YouTube, so instead of making a fairly dull economy class review, I thought I would compare the 2 flights to see whether British Airways' European business product is worth the extra money. Right, enough of the split screen, that really is quite hard work. I very deliberately chose flights that left around the same time of day, so the flight service would be as comparable as possible. And I chose flights that were operated by the same aircraft type, the Airbus A321neo to be precise, so that the whole business versus economy experience would be as comparable as possible. Given the ongoing reductions in BA's flight schedules, it was quite hard to find flights that met these criteria, so this video has been quite a while in the making. So first up, let's establish how much more Club Europe costs. Well, when I booked my flights, the outbound leg in Club Europe was £94 more expensive than the cheapest economy option. That was the lowest premium available on that day. The 1340 departure had a whopping £624 premium. I'll ignore the London City departure as the service and the experience is a little different on flights offered by BA's City Flyer subsidiary. Pricing back depends on the outbound option selected, but I paid £29 for an economy seat and a club seat would have been £81 more. So between the 2 legs, a Club Europe seat averaged an £87 premium. That's actually less than I thought it would be, and from my experience, not many flights have that lower differential, but it's what I paid, so let's go with it. I'll note that I picked hand baggage only flights too. The price gap to Club would have narrowed by £16 to just £71 if I'd had a bag to check. So before we examine the flights to see if we can spot £87 of extra value, there are a couple of branches off the main question path to be aware of. Your thought process will be different if you have status with another One World airline. The time of day you're travelling might make a difference, and there's also an emotional layer to the question. But I'll start by comparing the experience if you have no status at all, but I will wrap up all of these other options towards the end of the video. So, there's no real difference to the booking process, so the value differentials start at the airport. With all of the new admin required for travel, the check-in and bag drop queues at Heathrow were quite lengthy for both economy and business passengers. All outbound passengers were able to complete check-in online, so if you were travelling hand baggage only, you could skip all the lines and head straight for security. Coming back to the UK, every passenger needed their details to be checked by the agent, so the economy queue was considerably longer than the business class queue and would have been quite painful to work through. The next stop is security. Business class passengers can use the priority lanes, although on both my outbound and inbound flights, the benefit was negligible. It can be a real time saver though at busier times. So for both check-in and security, your business ticket will save you time, although the amount of time saved could be anything from a minute to an hour. It's tricky to value that time, but I'll have a go later on. A more tangible benefit comes from lounge access, available to business class travellers. Remember, for now, we're comparing a business traveller to an economy traveller without status. You'd almost certainly eat something in the lounge, plus you may well enjoy a beverage or 4 before boarding. I deliberately chose afternoon flights when a cheeky G&T would slide down nicely. Without lounge access, there will be plenty of airport options. A meal and a couple of drinks at the Wetherspoons in Heathrow's Terminal 5 would cost around 25 to 30 quid, other venues probably a little more. The venues in Spain were probably a little cheaper, but let's say your business class ticket gives you £30 in F&B value from accessing the lounge at the airport. A business class ticket will give you priority boarding. Again, it's hard to value this, but let's say it saves you 10 or 15 minutes in a boarding queue. Although if an argument about queue jumping breaks out, as it did on my return flight, you might want to be further back in the queue for the entertainment value alone. Right, you're on board. The single most important element of a flight is the seat, and your Club Europe ticket brings you exactly the same seat as economy. If you're used to flying long haul in business class with snazzy lie-flat seats, or if you're used to flying in a premium cabin within the USA, this will probably come as a real shock. Your business class seat today may well have been sold as an economy seat yesterday. BA and many European airlines move the curtain, dividing business from economy depending on demand, so the physical seats are the same throughout the length of the plane. The premium experience in business comes solely from having the middle seat empty, although if the economy class cabin isn't completely full, you may well end up with an empty middle seat in economy too. On this occasion I wasn't lucky, but it's very hard to attribute any tangible value to the seat itself when travelling Club Europe. You can quantify the value of the catering though. In Club Europe on a flight of this length, you'll get a pretty decent feed, plus quite a few drinks, provided the flight attendants aren't so overwhelmed by the volume of Club Europe passengers that they can't offer a good service, which unfortunately was what happened on my recent flight. Back in economy, you do now get a snack, using the first definition rather than the second one, which I have to say I was not aware of. You do usually also have the opportunity to buy food and drinks on board. Unfortunately, the machine running the buy on board service broke on my flight, so the app did not show what was available, and there were no physical menus because of the you-know-what. So my ambitions to buy and eat something to illustrate this part of the video were thwarted. But you can access the menu from the website, and as you can see, there are some interesting, albeit light options costing around £5. Nothing resembling the sort of hearty feed you get up front, but focusing on value again, you could quite easily spend a tenner on refreshments on board, even if you'd smashed your way through the Wetherspoons menu in the terminal. And finally, when it comes to the flight itself, it'll take you a bit longer to get off, perhaps 5 or 10 minutes if you're right at the back, which will translate into a longer transit of the airport. I will add here that when I got back to Heathrow there was no queue at the border and the majority of the electronic booths were working. I was through the border in about 2 minutes. There certainly can be delays, but you can also get through as quickly as you ever used to. 2 intangible differentiators to consider. You will earn more avios and tier points from travelling in business than you will in economy. You'll earn 1,315 more avios in business than flying in basic economy and 35 more tier points. Using the avios valuation established through the agreement with Nectar Points, the extra you'll earn are worth £10.52p. Check out this video for more about the valuation of avios. You ought to be able to do much better than the 0.8p valuation I've used if you make shrewd redemptions. But it is real value that you can cash in and go and spend at Sainsbury's. The tier points are trickier to value. If you are pursuing status though, they may actually end up being more valuable than the avios. As you can see from these videos, people are often happy to spend £1.25 or more for each of the tier points they accumulate. So if they are valuable to you, getting 35 more of them could be worth 50 quid. So lots of numbers, but let's pull it all together. If you travel in Club Europe, you're getting perhaps £40 of food and beverage value, plus another £10 in avios. You'll save somewhere between 10 and 70 minutes queuing, and only you will know whether that has any real value to you. You would have spent much of that time at the airport regardless. And there's minimal value from the seat, except perhaps if economy is completely full. We're pursuing a price differential of £87, so you can clearly see that in strict cash terms, Club Europe isn't worth it. You'd get £16 closer if you needed to check a bag, but even then it's still not clear cut. There probably would be value in upgrading if you were pursuing tier points, as the extra you'll earn are probably worth about 50 quid. But remember, we started off with a very low price differential, and you will rarely find a difference in price between economy and business that is this low. Now, if we can't show that Club Europe is worth it under this very restrictive scenario, it's going to get harder and harder to do so as we look at alternate scenarios. If you travel at breakfast time, the gap is going to widen because you're unlikely to pound the drinks trolley quite so hard. You might, but it's unlikely. Plus, breakfasts are cheaper to buy in the terminal than lunches or dinners are. If you don't drink alcohol, it's going to be very difficult to justify that premium at any time of the day. The case for Club Europe is weaker still if you have status. If you have silver status, which is sapphire with a One World partner, you'll get to use the business class check-in, you'll get access to a lounge, and you will get priority boarding. This equalises out much of the time differential and quite a lot of the cash differential. Gold or Emerald status will also give you fast-track security and, in London at least, access to a better lounge. With both Gold and Silver status, the only difference then is the on-flight catering, and you would have to drink a lot of gin to equalise out that price differential. By no means impossible, but a challenge nevertheless. There's actually a twist to all of this when travelling in economy with status. Doing so gives you access to the best seats on the entire plane, which are the emergency exit rows, as I enjoyed on my A321 flight from Corfu last year. You may not get a window, but these have the best legroom of any seat on the plane, including those in business. But having said all of this, plenty of people still buy business class fares even when there is little or no financial sense to doing so, including me. There's a powerful, intangible, emotional upside to flying at the front of the plane. It's a great way to start a special trip. It's a great way to celebrate a special occasion. It's a great way to reward yourself for whatever you feel needs rewarding. There's still a romance to it, and that can overpower any financial dimension. It's the same reason why people buy Ferraris rather than Citroens. They do the same thing, but one just does it with more flair and panache. If you reverse the logic and approach this purely from an emotional perspective, if it only costs you £20, £30, £40 more to travel in business class, that's a powerful draw for many people, and I wouldn't blame anyone for deciding to spend their money in that way. Give this video a like if you've enjoyed it, or if it's made you think about BA's European business product in a different light. And leave me a comment. Is it an emotional decision for you or a strictly financial one? I've just booked a series of flights on other European carriers who offer a similar business class product to BA, and I'm looking forward to showing you whether any of them do it better than BA does. So check out this video for a trip report of my outbound flight in business class, or perhaps check out this video in my economy class flight from Corfu that I mentioned in the video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.